With these words, may I please request my esteemed colleague and global convener of India CSR Network, Mr. Sukanta Dey, to welcome you all once again. Over to you, sir. Big round of applause for him.
Good morning. Hello. Can you hear me? Is it coming? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished members of the audience. I am humbled and privileged to talk about a topic in which I know very little about, and to an audience who are experts and stalwarts in this domain for so many years. Fundamentally, what does CSR aim to do? In my opinion, CSR aims to do only two things. Number one, to create a community which is sustainable and stabilize the community. So there are two objectives, sustainable and stability. In any free enterprise, community is not a stakeholder in the business, but is an integral part of the business. No business or government can exist without the community. So the stability of the community and the sustainability of the community is the very first requirement and objective of going through the three things of people, planet, and profit. Without communities, nothing exists. In better or for worse, in my opinion, 5 key areas will dominate the world in the foreseeable future. Number one, climate change. India, as you know, is part of the Paris Accord, and we have to reduce our footprint by 1/3, the world at large. We have to work together, both India and abroad, and there are many CSR activities aimed at that. And it is woefully inadequate even what we are doing, because climate change, in my opinion, will catch us before we can even take the tip of the iceberg. Whether it is eco-friendly cars, whether it is pollution control, whether it is decongestion of roads, which we see every day in all our cities, these are all effects of the climate change. Number two is, in climate change and all the 5 key areas which I will discuss today, everybody is affected. Even the rich man has to breathe the polluted air. It's the rich and the poor. The developed countries and the developing countries will face this challenge. The second important aspect, which opens up a new horizon for all of us, is terrorism. Terrorism is not in the form of just shooting somebody down or doing suicidal terrorism. Terrorism has many, many aspects. And as we evolve towards the future, terrorism will take more and more new dimensions. You probably know that India produces the 3rd largest electricity in the world. First is China, second is the US. And the entire electricity grid in India is one synchronous grid. So imagine somebody who, obviously it is maintained by the IT networks, by ICT. Imagine somebody who can enter into that network and shut your whole country down. That is terrorism. That is the terrorism of the future. So we have to be aware of these things and how CSR and activities like that can impact, which directly business will not do, but we have to work from the laterally to help and work on this. The third point is sectoral division of Human Development Index has to be done without, or it should transcend the barriers of race, religion, caste, and creed, and sex. And in this area, of course, CSR has done a lot of work on women's empowerment and then gender sensitivity and gender equality. Without a woman, there's no male world. In fact, without a woman, there's no world. So we have to understand that. So sectorial divisions is the third and the most important impact in the Human Development Index of the future. The fourth point is, I think we are all very serious. We should have a little bit of fun. How many people in this room have smartphones? Please raise your hands. I have a smartphone. Hey, everybody has a smartphone, and do you realize that when you have a smartphone, you have sold your data to the world? Everybody knows what you're doing, where you're here, everything is all this thing. How many of you have an Apple phone? Please raise your hand. I don't have an Apple phone. Oh, wow. Do you know that the data, your data, is not owned by you, is owned by Apple? Do you know that? Because you tick a terms and condition which says all your data, everything, your bank accounts, your whatever, medical records, whatever you have put on the phone belongs to Apple, doesn't belong to you. So the third most important thing is what I call privacy. Data privacy, individual privacy is going to be a new area which people have to look in. And CSR, like any other thing, have to make impact in that area of how we protect our own data privacy. Even the terrific work done by the government in JAM. You know what JAM is? The Jan Dhan accounts. There are 290 million accounts critically linked with the Aadhaar card. That's the A, and M is the mobile phone. But even there, we have to obviously. There are marginalized people who are part of that account, and their data is as valuable as your or my data. Just because they are in the fringe of society, we can't say, oh, no, that their data is not important. How does it make a difference? No. So how do we protect that? So that is really my fourth sort of important area as we move forward into India, the world, and this affects everybody. All the points I've raised affects the rich, the poor, the developed country, and the underdeveloped countries. And the fifth one is cryptocurrency. Currency has always been the prerogative of the governments. So you print the rupee, the United States prints the US dollar, and so on and so forth. But here is a currency created by the internet, by the blockchain technologies, which are one of the latest technologies along with artificial intelligence and robotics and so on and so forth. How will cryptocurrency affect the world? And that is what we need to think. So in short, I can go on and on because of time constraints. I'm only talking about the 5 top things, which in my opinion will impact the foreseeable future, and which a lot of innovative work have to be done by all of you in CSR. In addition to the traditional work which you are doing, and I was lucky to see some of the skill development schools. I sat in the jury, in which you will get all the awards a little later. And I find there's a huge amount of work which is being done, both in creating the security of the community and creating the sustainability of the community. In a global perspective, India is the only country in the world where the legislation, when the Companies Act was amended in 2013, they had put that 2% has to be put in. But India is the only country in the world which has legislated that. But CSR happens all over the world. And according to the Forbes ranking of reputation, the #1 company of CSR in the world, can I request you to take a guess? The #1 company in CSR. All of you use that product every day. No, they are #2. Who is #1? No. This is global. And all of you use that product every day. Alphabet. You know what Alphabet? Who is Alphabet? Alphabet is the holding company of Google Life Sciences, and they have many, many companies. The second company is Microsoft, and they have, Bill Gates has put a foundation in his wife named the Melinda Gates Foundation, which is one of the largest CSR activities globally, along with Warren Buffett of Berkshire Hathaway. And which is the third one? That's also a product all of us have used sometime or the other, and we probably use it, not daily, but certainly weekly. It's a Walt Disney Corporation. And you know, with the studios of Walt Disney and the type of some of the movies which you see, some of the technology behind the type of effects comes from the Walt Disney Studios in Miami. So these are the 3 top companies who have done CSR, and no country has that regulation of 2%. They've done it on their own, whatever they want to do. They've done it on their own. So CSR is something which is innate in human beings, and that is the point I'm trying to make. And I would like to end by saying one thing, that CSR is something which is done by all of us. Just because somebody is in business, it doesn't mean he doesn't do CSR. He obviously does CSR. So CSR, but bringing a legislation has brought all of us together in this room, because we want to recognize the people who have done so much of work in this particular area. Bringing the legislation brings in 2 things. #1, it brings in the money. About 2,500 companies roughly come under this ambit of this Companies Act of 2013, which was promulgated 5 years back. And if you add up all the corpus, it comes to about 15,000 crores, which is a lot of money, of course. But the real CSR is at the end of the day done by government, because even a single government act like the NREGA is 40,000 crores. So they're much bigger than us. So I think with those few words, I'd like to end and say that you have a wonderful day, and we do more CSR and create a revolution and social impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.